We got a lot of comments on our video Grouchy marches to the sound of the guns at Waterloo. And it was a lot of fun, but how right were we in our approach and possible outcome? Well, we decided to let a professional historian and wargamer have a crack at us. Let's hear what he has to say.
You, forgive me, misunderstood their role in the battle.
Hey, welcome back to the Game Room. It's a great day here in Mark's Game Room. We have a great guest. Charles Esdaile is joining us all the way from the UK to give us his thoughts and reactions to our crazy video about could Grouchy have made it to Waterloo. We traipsed all around Belgium, although Carl wasn't there. We had a great time, but we had a lot of comments from you guys. Many positive comments, but some of the old controversies about Grouchy come up where people were kind of still arguing about it. So we thought, hey, why don't we get an author who's written several great books, including Walking Waterloo, which is an awesome book, and I wish I had had it when we went because it's like the perfect thing. It's got modern pictures, shows you what you're looking at. So if you're gonna go, definitely get this book. When I go back, I'm using it. So we brought Charles along, and we're going to give him a chance to respond to what to do. Charles, thank you for joining us today here in Mark's Game Room. It's great to have you.
Pastor Mai voice Sharon Vannin. Good afternoon from the Isle of Man, because of course it is the Isle of Man here, or it's the afternoon here. And can I point out that I am not in the United Kingdom? Oh. The Isle of Man is actually, and despite the fact it's situated right in the middle of the Irish Sea, so very much in one sense part of the British Isles, we are an independent country.
Oh wow!
We count as a crown dependency, to be precise. So Her Majesty's government, or His Majesty's government, looks after our foreign policy. Well, not even that actually, but certainly our defence. But otherwise, we are independent. We have the oldest parliament in the world, although the vast majority of people speak English. We have our own language, which is Manx, which is a form of Gaelic.
I hope we're reaching Manxian viewers. Like,
right?
that's the real trick. We need to show that we're with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is great. I learned a lot right there, and that's what I think is one thing that's great for me about wargaming. It gets me out. It gets me meeting other people like yourself and learning great things, which is what we tried to do with our Grouchy video. So, Charles, just to get right into it, right? You watched our video, which we did kind of as a really fun wargaming exercise, as a way to explore the ground, think about things, certainly not a highly academic exercise, but we had a lot of fun with it. So what did you think? Did you think what we did was kind of on the mark? Do you think that was something Grouchy could have done? What was your initial take on what we did?
Well, it's the same, really, as it would be with, many books I could mention on the Waterloo campaign, and indeed, including Walking Waterloo. There are good things and there are bad things. There are things that you can praise. There are things that you can critique. I actually looked. If you look at my next book, Wargaming Waterloo, as opposed to Walking Waterloo. In Wargaming Waterloo, what I do is I look at the way in which the Battle of Waterloo and the Waterloo campaign has been represented by the historical simulations industry. I've also got a chapter in which I call Fantasy Waterloo. The idea of could Grouchy have saved Napoleon? And I look at this exact same problem. And the thing is that, in a sense, your team and I, independently, come up with the same conclusion.
So we're going to have to charter a little path.
Had Grouchy tried to march all the way round and come up on Napoleon's army from the rear in direct support, he'd never have been able to make it. It's simply physically impossible. The only thing he could have done, and this is exactly what you and your team did.
Our biggest concern here is we need to make it to this bridge that we're coming up to.
The only thing he could have done would have been to cut diagonally across country exactly as you have him, to head in the direction of somewhere like Laon or Chapelle-Saint-Lambert, try and cut the line of march. Now, that is exactly what I do in my chapter on what I call fantasy Waterloo.
Right. Right.
And for each of these chapters, I take one, sometimes more products, if you like, packages. But for that one, I used the Grand Waterloo scenario from the 1995 version of Napoleon's Last Battles.
Oh, yeah.
We kind of start from the same place. And
Right.
funnily enough, we actually end up in much the same place. In the climactic battle which I fight with Grouchy takes place more or less exactly where you got to and where you start your battle. And it was actually really, really interesting seeing that part of the theatre of operations.
And those roads today are still bad. They're farm lanes. They're sunken from the constant traffic. They're one lane. I mean, my friend Sean, who was driving the car, he kept having a heart attack. Like, someone's coming around the corner in a truck, and I'm not going to be able to get off the road, right? Don't make me go down there. So it was perilous even today. I think back then, it would not have been an easy march.
And none of it would have been paved.
Right.
The only paved road in the area, it's the north-south Brussels Highway, Brussels-Charleroi Highway. Also, the road which crossed over at Quatre-Bras, the other part of the crossroads at Quatre-Bras, that was also paved. But everything else, after Ligny, you kind of made out that he went wandering off in the wrong direction. He got sent in the wrong direction by Napoleon. It is Napoleon's fault that Grouchy is sent off miles to the east.
Right.
He's going in completely the wrong direction. He doesn't know it. He's doing what he's ordered.
Yeah.
Eventually, he gets wind that the Prussians are somewhere northwest of him. And he does turn back. And he starts marching towards Wavre. And the place where the famous strawberry scene is a village called Sa-à-Wallin. You've got to remember that Grouchy had no idea what the Prussians were doing. He really is a long, long way south of Wavre. He doesn't know what the Prussians are doing. He's got genuine reason to march on Wavre. But okay, so he said, well, what might they do if I'm in their situation? They might march cross country to join Wellington. Okay, right, I'll go for it. So we can make that assumption. Now, where you got things quite wrong was your appreciation of how the Prussian army was moving and the order it arrived at the battlefield. The Prussians use not one route, they use two routes. You concentrated on the southern route, and that's a road that leads from Wavre through Laon to Plancenoit. Fourth Corps, Bulow's Corps, followed that route. Now, and as you rightly divined, they would have got past the choke point, the crisis point, if you like, before Grouchy could possibly have got there. And you rightly divined that the troops who would have ended up fighting him were Second Corps. Okay, they're pulled south off the line of march. Does that matter in terms of Waterloo? Not in the slightest.
Right.
because Purchase Corps didn't get to the field in time in the real battle. They're not engaged.
I thought
They
second.
march onto the field as the battle is ending. Next, we come on to First Corps. What you didn't perceive was that First Corps was not marching by the same route.
Right. They went north, right? Yeah.
First Corps was marching on a roughly parallel road, much further north. And they come onto the battlefield, not at Plancenoit. They come on at Smain, very close to Papelotte. And you, forgive me, misunderstood their role in the battle. Their First Corps' role in the battle was absolutely crucial. It was the arrival of First Corps that completely broke the whole right-hand wing of the French army.
Oh.
Now, to understand that, you have to have some understanding of the field of Waterloo. Because the battlefield of Waterloo, of Mont-Saint-Jean, if you like, is completely different from how it's often imagined. General idea that everybody has is you've got two parallel ridges with a shallow valley in between. But what really complicates the situation is the ridge which everybody ignores and is in fact the dominant feature of the battlefield. And that is the land bridge which joins the two positions.
Right.
If you start where the Lion Mound is, or if you start where La Belle Alliance is, let's say you're the French and you're attacking, you can actually walk between the two positions absolutely on the level all the way. You see it far more when you go to La Belle Alliance. So you've got this north-south ridge which divides the battlefield in two. If you are on the western side, you cannot possibly see anything which is happening on the other side of the road.
Right. That's true.
The ridge itself doesn't actually follow the road. It is slightly to the west of it.
Right.
And it's not parallel. It's at a slight slant, at a slight sort of diagonal. Equally, if you're on the right-hand side of the road, if you're on the eastern half of the battlefield, you cannot see what's going on the western half. When you get the attack of the middle guard and part of the old guard at the end of the battle, nobody on the French right could see what was happening. You couldn't see it,
Right.
even if there's no smoke. What broke the right-hand half of the French army was the arrival at that precise same moment. It's virtually simultaneous with the pulse of the guard. Ziethen's entire corps suddenly smashes into the French line from absolutely out of nowhere. This massive Prussian force bursts upon its right flank. And that breaks the whole of the right wing of the French army. So Ziethen's arrival is actually crucial.
Right.
The battle was lost. The battle was already lost. But what that did was to make certain that everything falls apart. There's no chance of any sort of ordered retreat. No chance for a rear guard.
So in a war game situation, Charles, getting First Corps to Waterloo is pretty important still, because that, as you say, is going to essentially turn a French defeat into a rout.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we have a couple questions for you, Charles.
Please.
So this is from Anathardar. Sorry, I got to go through that again. Anathardaldar, 9324. He says Grouchy, 1, 2, 3, Grouchy. I got it. Grouchy could have kept contact with Napoleon by closing the route that kept him closer to the main army. constant messengers riding between would have updated him with new orders. So he's saying Grouchy could have cut the route earlier, right? But what's your take on that?
No, he couldn't, because he was exactly where Napoleon had told him to go.
Right.
And what that would have required is Grouchy not simply to act on his own initiative when he hears the sound of the guns. That might be defensible.
Right.
Might even be praiseworthy. What this good gentleman is suggesting would have required Grouchy to ignore the orders that he had been given in the immediate wake of Ligny, and to march in a completely different direction on a hunch that something completely contrary to what the emperor was expecting might happen in 2 days' time.
All right, so if you have questions for Charles, let us know. Maybe we'll have him back. We can pepper him with some questions, and he'll give us some great answers, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so buy Charles's books, Walking Waterloo, download Wargaming Waterloo, and again, if you're going, this is pretty much an indispensable book if you're a gamer, because it'll take you from kind of your overhead wargame view right down in the ground, and you can really see it and walk the ground. It's really great. So, Charles, thank you again. And out there, hey, give us a like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Charles, you got something?
No, I was looking forward to seeing more videos. Check out our other Waterloo and Napoleonic content on Mark's Game Room, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
And as I said, I will wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in Manx, and indeed say thank you. So Goromayu, which means thank you, but Nolik Genel as Noa. Happy Christmas and a very happy New Year. You all take care now.